Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Evangelical Alliance Ireland. I'm Nick Park, and this is the first of 5 teachings that I'm bringing this week to do with Halloween and the lead up to this coming Friday, the 31st, which many people will be celebrating as Halloween, but an increasing number of Christians across Ireland will be celebrating as National Praise Day. Now, why are we doing that? Well, basically, we want to redeem a day, something that Christians have done very successfully before. You know, back in the Roman Empire, there was a festival called Saturnalia. It took place towards the end of the year, and it was a festival surrounded by drunkenness, by sexual immorality and debauchery and violence as well. In fact, people would go knocking on people's doors, demanding money from them, and if you didn't pay them money, they would actually attack you. They might beat you up, they might destroy your property, and people were even killed during Saturnalia. And now there were certain people delighted in this. There's always people who thrive on violence and confusion and chaos and disorder. But obviously, as the church began to grow, Christians found this a very disturbing time. And so many Christians would actually just lock their doors and close the shutters on the windows and pretend they weren't in even when people came knocking on their door. They didn't like doing that, but they didn't know how else to respond to this festival. And then we don't know who it was, but somebody had the great idea of taking this festival of Saturnalia and turning it around, making it a date when they could celebrate something that was uplifting and good. Taking a day of darkness and turning it into a day of light. And so they took that date towards the end of the year, the 25th of December, and began to use it as a date to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. Now, we know Jesus wasn't born on the 25th of December. We don't know exactly what the date was of the birth of Jesus, but it almost certainly was not December. The reason being because we have some idea with the fact that John the Baptist was 6 months older than Jesus, and there was a way laid out for priests to have shifts in the temple at different times of the year. And because we know the family lineage of John the Baptist's father and the time he would have been in the temple and had a revelation from God, and therefore his wife became pregnant with John, we know that would indicate a birth taking place for Jesus round about October time, somewhere probably around the Feast of Tabernacles, but certainly not in December. So the church instead took this date and said, well, look, you know what? We don't know the exact date when Jesus was born, but wouldn't it be great if we celebrated the birth of Jesus on the 25th of December? And wouldn't it be great if we took this day that it's all about violence and darkness and immorality and everything else, and let's turn that into a day of light and life, and we'll celebrate the birth of Jesus. Now, that must have seemed like a crazy thing. People said, that'll never catch on. But of course, it has caught on. And today, people around the world celebrate the birth of Jesus on the 25th of December, which is why we have Christmas. So in the past, the church took a day that was about violence, a day that was about death and immorality and disorder, and the church took that day to celebrate the coming of the Saviour into the world. And they literally redeemed one of the darkest days in the calendar and turned it into a day of faith and celebration. And our desire is to do that with the 31st of October, that it can be a day of faith and celebration. So if you're anywhere near the venues for National Praise Day events this year, then I would encourage you to get along. We've got 2 events taking place in Dublin on the 31st of October, Friday 31st of October at 6 p.m. One's in Solid Rock Church in Dublin in Inchicore, and the other is in Trinity Church in Lower Gardner Street. And there's praise concerts taking place from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Don't just lock yourself indoors and try and ignore the trick-and-treaters, but join with other Christians and celebrate the life and light of Jesus Christ. It may be that you might even have in your own church an event on the 31st that is designed to provide a positive alternative to Halloween. If that's the case, go along there. Be a part of that. But, As Christians, we're disturbed whenever people want to celebrate death and darkness, and that's understandable. But let's not just curse the darkness, but let's light a light. And the National Praise Day is a wonderful time to do that. So we've got the two events in Dublin, in Inchicore and Lower Gardner Street, and also an event, National Praise Day event, taking place in Galway, in the Connaught Hotel in Galway. National Praise Day, 31st of October. Be a part of it, and join me again tomorrow when I'll be sharing a bit more of perspective on this in our next Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Evangelical Alliance Ireland.